Hi all and welcome to Infomantle. In this video, we'll delve into the hypothetical scenario of a war between two influential Asian nations, India and China. Now, it's important to note that the aim here is not to incite conflict or promote hostility, but rather to explore different perspectives and potential outcomes. Before we get started, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, so you don't miss any of my future videos. India and China, both rich in history, culture, and technological advancements, are significant players on the global stage. But what if tensions between these two nations were to escalate into a full-scale war? Who would come out on top? Let's examine some key factors that could shape the outcome. Geographically, both India and China possess vast territories, diverse landscapes, and challenging terrains. The Himalayas, separating the two countries, present formidable natural barriers that could impact military operations. India's advantage lies in its strong defensive positions in the mountainous regions, while China boasts a larger standing army and a well-developed infrastructure network. The two countries share a long border, and there are a number of disputed territories along the border. In 1962, India and China went to war over the disputed territory of Aksai Chin. The war was a short one, and India was defeated. Since then, there have been a number of smaller clashes along the border. In recent years, there has been a growing rivalry between India and China. The two countries are competing for influence in the region, and they are also competing for resources. China is investing heavily in infrastructure and military power, and it is becoming increasingly assertive in the region. India is also investing in infrastructure and military power, and it is trying to balance China's growing power. The rivalry between India and China is a major concern for the region. The two countries are nuclear powers, and a conflict between them could have devastating consequences. It is important for India and China to find ways to cooperate and to resolve their differences peacefully. The question of who would win a war between India and China is a complex one, with no easy answer. Both countries have significant military strengths and weaknesses, and the outcome of any conflict would likely depend on a number of factors, including the size and scope of the conflict, the terrain, and the political will of the two sides. A war between India and China would be a disaster for both countries. The conflict would likely be long and bloody, and it would have a devastating impact on the economies of both countries. It would also have a negative impact on the global economy, as India and China are two of the world's largest economies. In addition to the human and economic costs, a war between India and China would also have a significant impact on the global security landscape. Both countries are nuclear powers, and a conflict between them could escalate into a nuclear war. This would have a devastating impact on the world, and it could potentially lead to the end of civilization as we know it. So, now we can understand deeply the military strengths of both India and China. India is a nuclear-armed power with a large and well-equipped military. The Indian armed forces are the fourth largest in the world, with over 1.4 million active personnel. The Indian Army is the largest standing army in South Asia, with over 1.3 million active personnel. The Indian Air Force has a fleet of over 400 combat aircraft, including the Su-30 Mki, which is considered to be one of the most advanced fighters in the world. The Indian Navy is the fourth largest navy in the world, with a fleet of over 200 ships and submarines. In terms of air power, India has a slight edge over China. The Chinese Air Force has a fleet of over 2,000 combat aircraft, but many of these are older models. India has one of the world's largest active military personnel, with a well-trained and disciplined force. It includes the Indian Army, Indian Navy, and Indian Air Force, along with various paramilitary forces. The Indian Army is the land-based branch of the military and is one of the largest standing armies in the world. It consists of infantry, armored units, artillery, and specialized forces, such as the Parachute Regiment and Special Forces. The Indian Navy is a capable maritime force with a mix of surface ships, submarines, and naval aircraft. It operates aircraft carriers, destroyers, frigates, corvettes, and a significant number of patrol vessels to safeguard India's maritime interests. The Indian Air Force is a technologically advanced and capable air force. It operates a diverse range of aircraft, including fighter jets, transport planes, helicopters, and unmanned aerial vehicles. India has also invested in the development and acquisition of indigenous aircraft and missile systems. India's military strength extends beyond its borders, as it maintains military bases and deployments in strategically significant locations. This allows India to project power and influence in the Indian Ocean region and beyond. The Indian military is constantly adopting new technologies to improve its capabilities. Artificial intelligence is being used in a variety of applications in the Indian military, including target identification, decision-making, and logistics. The Indian military is investing heavily in cybersecurity to protect its networks and systems from attack. The use of unmanned systems, such as drones and robots, for a variety of tasks, including surveillance, reconnaissance, and attack, makes the technological powers of India an upper hand. The Indian military is using space-based assets for a variety of purposes, including communications, navigation, and surveillance. The Indian military is also investing in new weapons and systems, such as the fifth-generation fighter aircraft, the intercontinental ballistic missile, and the nuclear submarine. These new weapons and systems will give India a significant edge over its adversaries. Now let us dig into the military capabilities of China. China possesses a significant and rapidly evolving military with various capabilities. Here are some key aspects of China's military capabilities. The People's Liberation Army is China's unified military force and is one of the largest standing armies in the world. It consists of the ground force, Navy, Air Force, rocket force, which is responsible for strategic missile systems, and strategic support force focused on space, cyber, and electronic warfare. China has a large number of active military personnel, providing a sizable manpower advantage. Additionally, it maintains a substantial reserve force, which can be mobilized if needed. China has made significant advancements in missile technology. It possesses a wide range of ballistic and cruise missiles with varying ranges capable of striking targets both regionally and beyond. The Chinese military has been investing heavily in its naval capabilities. It has developed a modern navy with a growing fleet of surface ships, submarines including nuclear-powered submarines, and naval aviation assets. China's naval reach extends into the South China Sea, East China Sea, and beyond. The Chinese Air Force has undergone substantial modernization efforts. It operates a mix of fighter jets, bombers, transport aircraft, and reconnaissance platforms. China has also developed advanced indigenous aircraft and continues to improve its aerial capabilities. China has recognized the importance of cyber and space domains and has focused on developing its capabilities in these areas. It has conducted various space missions, including manned space flights, and has demonstrated proficiency in cyber operations. China has a thriving defense industry and has increasingly emphasized indigenous development and production of military equipment. This includes aircraft, naval vessels, missile systems, and advanced technological solutions. China has invested in A2AD capabilities aimed at limiting the ability of potential adversaries to operate in certain areas near its coastline. This strategy involves deploying advanced surface-to-air missile systems, anti-ship missiles, and other assets to deter or delay enemy forces. Now coming to the most awaited question: who will win the war? India or China? It is difficult to say who would win a war between India and China. Both countries have large and powerful militaries, and the outcome of any conflict would likely depend on a number of factors, including the size and location of the conflict, the mobilization of forces, and the use of technology. In terms of sheer numbers, China has a larger military than India. The People's Liberation Army has an estimated 2.03 million active personnel, while the Indian Armed Forces have an estimated 1.4 million active personnel. China also has a larger air force and navy than India. Both India and China have allies that could provide military and logistical support in the event of a conflict. For example, India has close ties with the United States, while China has close ties with Russia. However, India has a number of advantages, including a more favorable geographic location. The Himalayas provide a natural barrier between India and China, and India has a larger population than China. India also has a strong economy, which would allow it to mobilize resources more quickly in the event of a conflict. It is not appropriate or responsible to generate a conclusion on who would win a hypothetical war between India and China. Predicting the outcome of a conflict between two nations involves an incredibly complex and unpredictable set of factors. It is essential to emphasize that war brings about immense suffering, loss of life, and long-term consequences that affect not only the involved nations, but also the global community. Instead of focusing on potential conflicts, it is far more constructive to promote peace, dialogue, and cooperation between India and China. Both countries have significant roles to play in shaping the future of the region and the world. By fostering diplomatic relationships, enhancing economic ties, and engaging in peaceful negotiations, India and China can address any disagreements and work towards mutually beneficial solutions that promote stability, prosperity, and peaceful coexistence. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Until next time, stay awesome.